Good morning. I'm Kennedy Freeman, and I'm joined by Dr. Rica McRoy, a local optometrist and friend of Girls Inc. Welcome, Dr. McRoy, to my Red Table Talk.
Kennedy, thank you so much. It was a delight to get to know you a little bit earlier through a conversation, but I'm so excited to be able to talk to you more today.
When we spoke a couple of weeks ago, you mentioned you felt your profession is a way for you to help people see in more than ways than one. So, could you tell us what inspired you to become an optometrist?
Oh, I appreciate that question. I would say maybe four things. Some of them are noble and maybe some of them not so noble. One I would say is expectation. I am first generation immigrant from India, and so there was an expectation to follow a career as either a doctor or an engineer or a professor. Those were kind of the options. And I understood the sacrifice that my parents had made for us to live here in America, and I wanted to honor that. So one would be expectation. Another I would say is aptitude. I just liked science, enjoyed helping people, and so wanted to go into healthcare in some way. Another that I would say is not so noble is insecurity. I really wanted to have a career because I didn't feel like I was significant that made me feel significant. And the last I would say is grace. God used a woman when I was just entering into graduate school who had entered into optometry, and she invited me to explore it as a possible career. And that's what pointed me in that direction. I'm so grateful.
Growing up, we don't always know what the future might hold, and sometimes we can be hard on ourselves and others. So, if you could say one thing to your younger self, what would it be?
If I could say one thing to my younger self, I would say, here's a pair of glasses. Because I had a really broken view, Kennedy, of myself and of the world and of God. I had shared with you I had endured some really hard things, some trauma as a little girl. And when I looked in the mirror, I didn't like who I saw. I saw someone who was ugly and broken and unlovable. So I would hand myself a pair of glasses to correct that broken view.
From our conversation last week, I remember you telling me you had 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. What are some of the things you taught or are still teaching your daughter, especially when it relates to self-esteem, body image, and her ability to lead?
Oh, that's great. So our daughter's name is Sophie. She's a sophomore. She's our youngest. She's a sophomore in college. And she has on her mirror, she wrote it herself in dry erase, "You are altogether lovely. There is no flaw in you." And so I try to remind her all the time that her beauty comes from within, that she is made by God, and she is a masterpiece. And so there are some cultures that will say it's beautiful to be skinny, and other cultures will say it's beautiful to be plump. Others will say it's great to have small feet. It's great to have big feet, all different expectations of what beauty is like through culture. And I try to encourage her to see she is beautiful from within. As far as leadership goes, I encourage her to look at the gifts and the talents that she has, those places where she has been given access and authority, and for her to leverage those for the sake of someone else, wherever she is, whether that's in a classroom or in a store or in a larger setting, to use the gifts, the access, the authority that she has for the sake of someone else.
Your children must be blessed to have someone like you in their corner. When you were younger, was there anyone who encouraged you? If so, who was your champion?
Kennedy, I would say there's probably some days that my kids, they're all older now and out of the house, probably didn't feel blessed to have me as their mama, but I hope overall they did. I would say growing up, one person that just stands out to me is a woman named Ruth Laminack. I had shared with you that her church was the one who facilitated the ESL class, or the English as a Second Language class, that my mom learned English in. And I learned through her and through the example of my mom what it is to be a bridge into different communities. And so she is one who constantly handed me a pair of glasses and a mirror and let me see myself through her eyes and through God's eyes.
Do you still keep in contact with Miss Laminack?
Miss Laminack passed away, but I had an opportunity to bring all three of our children to meet her, and to share with her the impact that she made in my life. Kennedy, part of the words and belief that she had in me literally saved my life, and I wanted her to know that.
As we wrap up our Red Table Talk, what's one piece of advice you would give to young girls like myself?
I would say this, Kennedy: be brave. Be brave, because I have found that fear often stands in the doorway of your destiny. And so I believe that you are loved, not because of what you do, but because of who you are, and that there is a God who knows everything about you, and He loves you. And I believe that you are anointed, that you have gifts stored in you that I need, that this world needs. And those gifts are going to need some assembly. So dive into communities like Girls Inc. that will help you discover them. And you are human. And so you're going to make some mistakes, and other people are human, and they're going to make mistakes too. But be brave. Be brave to leverage who you are, that you are loved, to develop those gifts, and to move past your imperfections and the imperfections of others to make this world better.
Dr. McRoy, you have such a warm personality, which made it very easy for me to talk to you today. Thank you. And thank everyone for joining our Red Table Talks. Now I will turn it over to Ms. Dawn Stanley, President of Girls Inc. Board of Directors.